My daughter cheated on her husband and begged me to file a false DV report to help her divorce. I agreed to protect her, but it backfired, and now I deeply regret it. Hello Reddit I plus here. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, telling a story that still keeps me up at night. But here I am. My name is Margaret, and I'm a mother. That simple label comes with a world of responsibilities, joys, and heartbreaks. What I'm about to share with you is a tale of love, loyalty, and the devastating consequences of a single misguided choice. It started about a year ago when my daughter, Rachel, came to me in tears. She was married to a man named Mark, a good man, steady job, great father to their 2 kids, and someone who truly seemed to love Rachel. But that night, Rachel wasn't the glowing, happy woman I'd raised. She was distraught, crying so hard I could barely understand her words. "Mom, I messed up," she said, her voice trembling. She confessed that she'd been having an affair with someone from her office. I was stunned. Rachel had always been impulsive, but this was a new low. She told me she wanted out of her marriage, that she couldn't handle the guilt anymore, and that she needed my help. I asked her what kind of help she meant, assuming she wanted advice or maybe a place to stay. What she asked for, though, left me speechless. "I need you to file a report," she said, her eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. "A domestic violence report against Mark. It's the only way I can get custody of the kids. Otherwise I'll lose them." "Rachel," I said, horrified. "Mark's never laid a hand on you. How could you even suggest something like that?" But Rachel was desperate. She swore she'd lose everything if Mark found out about the affair. She spun a tale of how Mark would use her infidelity against her in court, how he'd ruin her life. "Please, Mom. You know how men like him can be. He'll turn everyone against me. I need you." She looked so broken, so terrified, and as much as my gut told me it was wrong, I let my love for her override my better judgment. I convinced myself I was protecting my daughter, that I was doing what any mother would do for her child. So I went to the police. I filed the report, spinning lies about Mark's supposed aggression and how I'd witnessed bruises on Rachel. It felt like I was watching someone else speak the words, like my body was moving on autopilot. The officers were sympathetic. They assured me they'd investigate and make sure Rachel and the kids were safe. I left the station feeling sick to my stomach, but Rachel hugged me and said, "Thank you, Mom. You don't know what this means to me." I told myself I'd done the right thing. For a while, it seemed to work. Rachel filed for divorce, citing the report as evidence of Mark's abuse. Mark was blindsided. He denied everything, of course, but in the court of public opinion, he was already guilty. Friends stopped talking to him. His job put him on leave. He was forced out of the house while Rachel stayed with the kids. I'd done what my daughter asked, but at what cost? Then the cracks started to show. Mark hired a lawyer, a good one. They started digging into Rachel's story. Her affair came to light, text messages, photos, even a co-worker willing to testify. Suddenly her credibility was in question, and then they got to me. I'll never forget the day I was called to testify. Mark's lawyer was ruthless but fair. They presented evidence that contradicted the report I'd filed. They asked questions I couldn't answer. My lies unraveled in real time, and the shame was unbearable. When the judge asked me directly if I'd lied, I broke down and admitted the truth. Rachel was furious. She accused me of betraying her, of ruining her life. But the damage was already done. The court ruled in Mark's favor. He got full custody of the kids, and Rachel was left with supervised visitation. Her affair partner broke things off, and Rachel's life spiraled out of control. She blamed me for everything, refusing to see how her own actions had led to this point. As for Mark, he's been kind, despite everything. He allows me to see my grandchildren, though it's awkward. I apologized to him, and he accepted, but I can tell he'll never fully trust me again. And who could blame him? Looking back, I see how blind my love for Rachel made me. I thought I was protecting her, but all I did was enable her worst impulses. My actions hurt an innocent man, shattered a family, and left me estranged from my own daughter. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always necessary. I failed to see that when it mattered most, and now I'll carry that regret for the rest of my life. I started noticing the changes in people around me. Friends who'd once waved to me at the store now turned their backs. Whispers followed me at church and in the community. The shame wasn't just mine, it was public. My actions hadn't just stained my conscience, they'd painted a target on my back. Rachel and I barely spoke after the court ruling. Every conversation turned into a fight. "You ruined my life!" she'd scream, her voice raw with anger. Part of me wanted to fight back, to remind her that none of this would have happened if she'd just been honest. But what was the point? We both knew the truth, and it was an ugly thing neither of us could face. I found myself reaching out to Mark more often. At first, it was just to check on the kids. I didn't expect him to answer, but he did. Every time. His voice was calm, steady, even kind. Qualities I hadn't appreciated until I saw what Rachel's life had become without him. "Margaret," he said one day, "I don't hate you. I know you were trying to help her, but you should have trusted me. I would have never kept the kids from her if she'd just been honest. All I wanted was the truth." Those words gutted me. He was right. Mark wasn't a villain. He was a father trying to protect his children from the chaos Rachel had created, and I'd made him out to be a monster. The final straw came when Rachel stopped showing up for her supervised visits. At first, it was once or twice, but then weeks went by without her seeing the kids. I asked her why, begged her to explain. She just shrugged. "What's the point?" she said. "Mark won. They don't need me anymore." I wanted to shake her, to scream at her, but I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I channeled my energy into something else, making amends. I started spending more time with Mark and the kids, not to replace Rachel, but to show them I cared. I baked cookies with the kids, helped with homework, and attended their soccer games. Slowly, the tension between Mark and me began to ease. He started to trust me, not fully, but enough. One day I sat down with him and said, "Mark, I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know I'll do everything I can to support you and the kids. I was wrong. I see that now." He looked at me for a long time before nodding. "We all make mistakes, Margaret. What matters is what you do after." Rachel still hasn't forgiven me, but I've learned to live with that. I can't force her to take responsibility for her actions, just like I can't erase mine. All I can do is try to be a better person moving forward. For Mark, for the kids, and for myself. If there's one thing I hope people take from my story, it's this. Love your children enough to tell them the truth, even when it's hard. Protect them when they're in danger, but don't shield them from the consequences of their actions. And above all, never compromise your integrity, not for anyone, because in the end, integrity is all you have. And once it's gone, it's a long road back.